everyone, I'm going to go ahead and show you today how to use the bubble overlays that are in the store. We already have a bubble overlay open. This is our bubble overlay number 5, and I have a light colored image that I want to add the bubbles to because a lot of people are always asking how to make the bubbles look more realistic but on a light background. So I want to go ahead and show you how to do this. Now I already have my bubble overlay open above the image that I want to apply it to, and that's just because I'm going to simply use the drag and drop method and drag that image over top of the background image, and you'll see a little plus symbol show up, and go ahead and release with your mouse, and that brings that image on top of your layer. Now this image is rasterized already. If you want to turn that into a smart object, you can do that later on if you want to resize. But for now, we're going to work on it with it rasterized. I'm going to grab my magic wand and make sure my tolerance is set fairly high. It's already set at 65, but you don't have to have it this high. I'm just going to leave it where it is though, and we're going to click on the black area and simply click delete, and that's going to remove that background. From here, we're going to just select all, and then we're going to go over to our layer mode, and we're going to change that layer mode. Now what I find personally that works best on a light color background is either the vivid light mode or the hard light mode. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the hard light mode, and I'm going to show you the vivid light mode. Now for this, I'm going to work directly as a hard light layer and show you how you can adjust this to make it a little more realistic. So with that opacity set at 100% and that on hard light mode, I now want to go up to my image adjustments, and I want to go to my brightness and my contrast. You can also use this as an adjustment layer, but I don't find this necessary to do it this way. So I'm going to go ahead and choose brightness and contrast, and that's going to open our brightness and contrast window. From here, I want to bring my brightness up just a little bit because the scene overall is pretty bright. So we're going to bring that up to about 6, and we're going to lower the contrast. We're going to put that contrast in a negative, and that's going to remove some of the black that's within the image, and you may have to do it a lot. If you bring it up to 100%, you'll see all that black come back. And let's just go down about -47. Let's just go ahead and go to -50 and our contrast, and you can also come back up here to your brightness and bring that contrast or that brightness back up in your brightness and contrast. So I really like that overall, and I would be happy leaving that right here, but I'm going to go ahead and choose OK. I'm going to grab my eraser brush, and in some of these, if you feel like it's too dark, I'm going to use my left bracket key to lower the size, and I have a soft round paintbrush, and I'm just going to simply click inside of some of them and remove any area that I feel is just too bright, and we can lower that opacity down so we're not removing too much, and just simply click through and remove any spot that's too dark. Okay, so I really like that where it is. However, we still want to make it a little more natural looking because we have all of these bubbles on one layer. You can apply them one at a time, or you can apply them like this as a layer. So what I want to do is I'm going to grab my square marquee tool, or you can use your lasso tool. Let's go ahead and use our lasso tool, and this bubble right here to me is in the way of his face. So I want to just simply click that overlay bubble, and I want to drag it out of the way. And let's put it down here in the corner, and let's bring that size up a little bit. Now I'm not worried about restraining the size and having that as a smart object and worrying about the pixels because I'm going to blur this out to make it a little more natural. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the check mark, go up to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and we want to blur this out just a little bit to make it a little more natural as if it's closer to the camera. And let's go with about 2 pixels and choose OK. Deselect, and let's look at that. That looks pretty good there. But we want to go ahead and grab these bubbles here. Let's grab all 3 of these bubbles, go into filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. And we want to choose a blur that will make the bubbles look like they're farther in the background. So let's go ahead, and a 1.9 does not look too bad. You don't want them too blurry so that you cannot tell what they are. You just want them a little bit more blurry. Let's go with 1.5 on this one. And I want to go ahead and just grab this bubble right here, edit it, transform scale, and make that a little bit smaller. Let's put that one right there. And then I want to go in and blur this one out just a little bit more. And let's go ahead and choose 2 pixels for this one. And deselect and look at the overall image. That looks really good. This bubble right here looks pretty large, so let's just go ahead and move this bubble out here into the screen. Okay, overall I really like that look. And we're going to look at that whole image. Now there's another tip that I like to do for my bubble overlays. This overlay right here looks really good with the coloring. However, if you have a lot of sunlight streaming in, those bubbles are going to appear to be more yellow or have a more orange or pink glow. So I like to change this by going into image adjustments and using my variations. You can also use your hue and saturation, but I prefer my variation. Make sure you click your original so you're working from your original color, and I want to add just a little bit more yellow. You can also make it a little lighter or a little darker, but I like the look just like how it will be, so I'm going to go ahead and choose OK, and now you can see that it has added yellow into that image. But it doesn't really work well because the image is very blue overall with the bathroom light, so just let's go ahead and change that back to that blue and purple look. Now I also have a bubble overlay for a darker background, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it on that darker background. Okay, so now we have our darker background image open, and we already have some bubbles that were in the scene, and this is often what happens in real life is that you've used some bubbles, but you really didn't get enough that you need it within the image, so you need to add some more. Now there are several ways that you can do this. You can take the image that you have, make sure you click on that image, and then you can use your clone stamp tool, use your Alt key, click over top that bubble, and add more bubbles. But then you see what's happening is that you may have that background as a different color. So you would have to be very careful. Use your bracket tool to lower the size. Use that Alt key again, and then barely add it in so it's not using that background. There are other ways to do this as well. Using your lasso tool and things like that, but I prefer to just go ahead and add in a bubble overlay. So like we did before, we're just going to simply click and drag into that image. Now I'm going to go ahead and close that bubble overlay. I'm going to do the same thing before, is choose that black background with our magic wand tool and go ahead and choose delete. Now if you accidentally delete the entire image, just go back and undo and then try that again. So now I'm going to go ahead and select all so you can see the whole image. And for our darker background, I want to use a hard light or an overlay mode. This works best with that darker background. And the darker the background, the less you have to worry about the black that's behind the bubbles. So let's go ahead and show you that overlay mode. And as you can tell, there's still a lot of darkness in that, but you can use that contrast slider to adjust that a little bit. And you can also try the hard light mode. So let's go ahead and choose hard light and look at that. Now the reason why I like the hard light mode or the overlay mode for the darker backgrounds is because of the edges and what it does to match along the edges. So let's go ahead with our hard light mode selected. We're going to go up and do image adjustments and brightness and contrast, and we're going to bring that brightness up and that contrast back down again. And let's go ahead and choose OK, and then deselect so you can see that image. Now, the reason why these aren't quite looking right yet is because of 2 different things. One, they're very crisp and sharp, and 2, the background has a lot of magenta purples color into their image. So I'm going to go ahead and choose OK. I'm going to go up to Filter, Noise, and Add Noise. And we're going to add, let's try about 2% noise to blend that in a little better. And we'll also use the Gaussian blur. But let's go ahead and do the image adjustments and variations. And let's add a little bit of magenta into that image, but right here I'm going to choose lighter because the overall look of the bubbles are lighter. And now you can see how dark those are still looking. So you can change this with your opacity, or you can go back into your adjustments and levels, and you can adjust your levels sliders. Let's bring more darkness into the whites, and let's bring that down just a little bit. And really, this is all about adjusting this to match your image. Your overlays are never going to be a one-click solution. Now let's go ahead and grab our brush, bring that brush size up. We have it set at 23% opacity with our eraser. I'm sorry I said brush, but it's our eraser. And then I just want to click in the middle and start to remove a little bit of the centers. And that's because we're trying to match these bubbles over here and get that looking as close as possible. And you may have to just do a little bit of adjustments as you go through to get these to look more natural. Okay, let's go ahead. And I'm going to change this back to the vivid light mode, and sometimes it's about just changing it back and forth and seeing how that looks. And you can move this around so you can try to match that look better and make sure you're getting that look. Let's go ahead and choose filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. Let's add about a 1 pixel blur to those and see if we can get those to blend in a little bit better. Now I still feel like these are pretty bright pink and not quite exactly what we're looking for. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into adjustments and our hue and saturation. We're going to grab our reds and bring those reds down just a little bit. Let's bring the more yellow into the edges. And this just takes a little bit of practice to be able to get these exactly accurate. Okay, this is really starting to work now. So we went to our magentas and we brought the lightness down by -15 and our saturation down by -54. Let's bring a little bit more darkness in because we just want to pull the areas into the color or into the center and make that a little darker because all the other bubbles that are in the scene have really dark centers as well. Okay, let's go ahead and choose OK. Now I want to go ahead and move some of these bubbles around. So we're just going to lasso those off. And we can start moving them around and changing the size. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You just have to practice and see how it looks. Let's bring this bubble up over here. And I want to go ahead and blur this one out a little bit more so we make it a little more natural. Choose OK. Let's deselect that so we can look at that. Okay, now if you don't like one at all, just go ahead and delete it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I'm just going to keep moving them around. You can also, if you select one that you really like, go up to Layer, New Layer via Copy, and now you have two of the same bubbles, and you can move that one around anywhere you need to. Okay, this is very, very easy to do. Make sure your original layer is selected with your bubbles. Okay, I really like that there. I'm going to blur some of these out a little bit more so they appear more in the background. We'll grab these here and blur those out. Oh, I hit the wrong button. We want to use our Gaussian blur. You can use your lens blur, but it'll take forever. So we just go ahead and use our blur, Gaussian blur. Okay, I really like that. I want to move this one over so we don't have too many all in the same spot. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our entire image. I kind of really like that there. Some of these are still a little large, but overall I really like those. You can also go in and add a little bit more color. As you can see, there's a little teal into this one. You can go ahead and grab your paintbrush and go to a teal blue. Make sure you have your pixel layers locked. Bring that size down very low. bring your opacity down, and you can just click over that and paint in a little more color to match those other bubbles. And this is just, you can practice with this and play. You can do so many things with these. Okay, so I could go on all day, but I'll stop right here. And I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and you can practice and play with these and see what you can create. Thank you.